Alrighty, so what we're going to do today is to kind of make sure that you know what I expect you to know so far from your previous classes. And then we're going to drill in on using NetBeans, because if you took other people's Java courses, you may use another development environment, Notepad, TextPad, something like that. And we need you to use NetBeans at least for certain assignments, and that's all that I'm going to demonstrate is NetBeans. So I do want you to install it and use it. Even if you choose to use something else for most of your assignments, every once in a while there'll be something that absolutely has to be done in NetBeans. So pretty much, you have the textbook, you used it last semester. I'm expecting you to have gone all the way up through and including chapter 6, which is how to create objects and classes. Why is our text so tiny? Also, I would kind of think that you had arrays, but it's possible you didn't. And also along with arrays, I would like for you to have done array lists. Now I'm not so sure that everybody who took the earlier Java classes had arrays or array lists. Is that a fair thing to say?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I'm expecting y'all to have gotten up this far. So I may do little bits of review of stuff that's from those chapters, but pretty much it needs to be nailed down in your head. And if you took, the beginning Java, I bet it is. So specifically, you're going to need to know what a class is. What are variables that are attached to a class? What do we call those?
Not attributes. But
yeah, there's different names for them. They may have called them attributes. They may have called them properties. So a class can have data, is data, and methods and functions that act upon that data. The data I'm just going to call member variables. Don't remember what the book calls them. The functions we're going to call methods. Function's a term that you don't even use in Java because everything is a method in this language, unlike Python, C, C++, stuff like that. Okay, so that's what a class is. It's a data and the functions that act upon that data. So if we wanted to make a class called dog, use the class keyword. You don't need to type this in because we're going to be doing it in NetBeans really quickly. And then let's add some data to it. What does a dog do? A dog, how many legs does he have? Int legs, that kind of thing. And then if you tell a dog to speak, he goes woof. So we might give him a method called speak. That when you call it, prints out woof, whatever. Like that. Okay. So we have data, we have a method. When we're ready to create our dog, somewhere in the client class, in main or something else, we would do something like this. Dog Lassie is equal to new dog. Then you do Lassie.speak. And Lassie would print woof. Alright, I'm expecting y'all to know that. Also, we will hit again the idea of constructors and encapsulation and stuff like that before we move on too much further. But I want us to get into NetBeans. So, go to Start, type NetBeans, or find the icon, whatever. You know how to launch NetBeans, just dock it in your taskbar or whatever so that you can find it again later.
Quick question. In Java, I think you told us everything in Java is an object, right?
Almost everything.
Like,
In C#, absolutely everything is an object. In Java, yeah, the question was, is everything an object in Java? And you have primitive data, ints, floats, and whatever that are not objects. But then you have the wrapper classes, capital I integer, capital F float, and stuff like that that are objects. And in C#, absolutely everything is a. Okay, so I'm going to close that so that we don't see this stuff. I want to make a brand new project. This is kind of my introduction to NetBeans kind of project. So I'm going to do File, New Project. We're going to choose Java, Java Application, Next. And if you want to store your projects in a path other than this default path, you may certainly do so. You can click Browse, and you can find another place where you want to store yours. So for example, I'm going to be storing all of my projects in one of my Java folders. So I made a folder off the desktop. Let's do 2623. And there we go. So when I create my projects, they're going to go there. And I feel like giving myself a clever name. So let's call this one Hello NetBeans. HELLONETBEANS. And I'm sorry that the print is so small. I zoom in the code, but I can't do much about the user interface. You'll notice that down here it says Create Main Class. I'm going to do this, and I don't want you to do it. Watch what happens if I create it. Okay. If I don't click Create Main Class. If I do that, it creates a project, but there's no source code. There's no little place to start editing. And for you guys who've been using NetBeans, TextPad, Notepad, stuff like that, that's kind of how you're used to doing it. But what I really want you to do is to go ahead and let it create the main class. So I'm going to say Create Main Class. I'm going to remove that last one that I made so it doesn't confuse me. All right, we see our projects listed down the side. Right now there's only one of them. We see our .java file here. We see something that says source packages. Source packages are subdirectories. You can put each Java file in its own subdirectory. If you'll notice, a source package matches the name of this package right here. All of this stuff got created automatically by NetBeans as soon as we created our project. What I really would like for y'all to do is to go ahead and put your name up at the top, along with the date, approximately. And, my first NetBeans program. Whatever, some kind of description it is. And then, quite often, I go and I clean up all the extra comments that they've added. Once I delete all the other comments, it looks like this. So what does this package do? The package dictates what subdirectory in the project this Java file is in. What if you don't want the package statement? That's okay. I'm going to comment it out, but you could cut it out. As soon as you do that, you're going to get the little red error. Anytime that there's something wrong that would stop the application from compiling or working, it will flag it with a little red mark. Notice that the scroll bar has a red mark, and then over here line number 1 has a red mark. If we hover our cursor over it, it says incorrect package. Alt-Enter shows hints. Well, I don't know about that Alt-Enter. Maybe that works. Nope. If you click the error, it offers two choices. You can move the class to the correct folder, or you could change the package declaration. If I do that one, change package declaration, it just adds that line back. That's not what I want to do. So instead, I could choose move class to correct folder. All right, and now our Java file is no longer in a subdirectory. I don't care if you give me files that have a package declaration or not. It's totally fine either way. If you want to remove the package declaration, that's fine. You just have to remember to click the error and let it correct itself. If you want to leave the package declaration, that's totally cool. If you're going to want to reopen this file and then compile it with TextPad or Notepad or whatever, then yeah, you may as well remove the package declaration because that confuses TextPad, Notepad, and stuff like that. So it's gone now. I'm going to delete it entirely. Alrighty, let's make a program that does something. I don't know what. String name, int age. Good enough. We want to ask them for their name, and then we want to ask them for their age, and we want to print those out. All easy stuff to do. What is, since we're still writing a console app with no GUI, what's the command for sending data to the screen?
System.out.println.
Yep, system.out.println. What is your name? And how do we get input into it from the command line?
We have to import the scanner class.
Exactly, we have to have the scanner class. Now what y'all have been doing is going up here and adding the import first and then doing that. I'm going to show you how to be lazy and let NetBeans handle some of this stuff for you. Scanner, I like just calling it SC, is equal to new scanner So that's not going to work. Why? Because I don't have the import for it. Sure, I could run up there and I could add the import for it. Instead, I'm going to come over here and look at the error. It says, I don't know what the scanner is, cannot find symbol, add import for scanner. Whenever you're fixing these errors in this fashion, if you're being lazy and using the class before you add the import, always choose add import, never choose create class. If you created a class called scanner, then you're never going to get any input to work, you know. If you've made a typo in something and that add import isn't even up there and all it wants to do is create a class, then that means you need to look real carefully at what your typo was. But add import is pretty safe, so I'm going to do that.
For some odd reason, the ones that mine list, it says add import for sun.net and then a bunch of different URLs for all the different.
So there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing it the way that you're used to doing it, which is going and adding the import statements, you know, by hand. That's totally cool. Alrighty, now let's ask them for their age. Wait, we haven't even read their name in yet. I feel like rearranging this a little bit so that we create the scanner and then we ask them the question. So I'm just going to cut that print line statement and move it down a little bit. Now I'm ready. Name is equal to sc dot next. If I only use dot next, they'll only be able to type in one thing rather than a whole bunch of things. You know, they can only type Jeff rather than Jeff Thompson. So instead of just using next, I'm going to use next line. Once you start using next line, though, you pretty much have to keep using next line. You're committed to that tactic. So even when we ask for a number, we're not going to be able to use next int. We're just going to have to read it into a string and then convert it into an int. Well, I'm not totally sure I want to do that. I've rethought that. I'm going to make it just next so that I can use next int to get the age. So let's ask them for their age. Age is equal to sc.next int. Now let's print something out about them. System.out.println. Hello, comma, plus their name, plus an exclamation mark. That's one kind of print statement. There's another one called a formatted print, printf. Let's use that to print their name out. System.out.printf, you are %d years old. /n. Why did I add the /n? Because printf does not go to the next line automatically like printline does. You know that you have a dot print that doesn't go to the next line, and you have printline that does. Well, printf is like dot print. It doesn't go to the next line. So I tacked on a \n, an escape character, so that it would go to the next line. All right, this isn't done though. What this is a placeholder that will be filled in by the next value that appears after the formatting string, which in this case is age. All right, our application is looking pretty spiffy there. Let's go ahead and build and run it. I like to rebuild every single time until the application gets too large to support that. So I'm going to come up with the little hammer and broom, or I'm going to choose run, clean, and build. Either one of those works. And it churns for a while. It says build successful, at least I hope it does. And it tells you the name of the jar file that your output was stored in. If you want to run that from the command prompt, you could. I could take that command, I could open up a command prompt. I'm not asking y'all to do this. And then I could paste that command in there, and it would run in a command window. What is your name? My name is Joe. I'm 99 years old. Instead, I'm going to run it right here. So I'm going to press the green arrow, run your project. What is your name? Joe. What is your age? 99. Hello, Joe. You're 99 years old. Okay, we have written a program. We're awesome. You already knew how to do all this. You may not have known how to use NetBeans yet, though. Okay, so let's go and make a new class. So I'm going to come over here to Source Packages, right-click, and do Please Make a New Java Class. And the name of this class is going to be called Jar. No, that's stupid. Bottle. And we'll see that it created our boilerplate, public class bottle. And it should be in the same folder or subfolder if you did not remove the package statement as our original Java file was. Okay, I'm going to remove that stuff to make it look a little bit cleaner. Let's say that our bottle has two variables, a quantity, a capacity, and how much it's holding. So double capacity, we're not specifying in liters, but whatever, and double what's a good term for how much it's actually containing?
Volume.
Volume sounds like capacity, though, to me. Maybe we should call it volume and then amount. Something like that. Maybe we should put comments in to denote, exactly what we're doing. Capacity of bottle. How much is in the bottle? So you've probably been told that you should make all of your variables private. If you have not, I will tell you now. You should make your member variables private. So that I have several rules of writing classes. I'm just going to note them right here. Rules for writing classes. 1, member variables private. 2, methods public, unless you have a real need to not make them public. And then 3, add some accessors and mutators, also known as getters and setters. So if we were going to do that, we would have to go through, and I'm going to type a little bit, but then I'm going to undo it. So I don't necessarily want you to follow along. Right? I would have to type private, can I spell? I'd have to type private double, private double amount. Then I would need to, add some getters and setters. Public set volume that took, an amount, whatever, like that, Y'all have done that, right? You've added getters and setters. Is this new stuff? Okay, good. Instead, I'm going to cheat and let NetBeans do it for me. How do you do that? That's through refactor. I'm going to highlight this variable here and choose refactor, or you can right click it, encapsulate fields. And we could actually do both at the same time, but I only highlighted one of them. So what it's going to do is it's going to add a get volume method, and it's going to add a set volume method. I'm just going to click refactor, and it does it. And it fluffs it out with all these comments and stuff like that, so it becomes harder to see. But you see now.
It's refactor then what?
Refactor encapsulate fields. So if I scroll up here, we see that volume is now private and it has getters and setters, but amount is not. And that's because when I refactored it, I didn't choose those methods as well. I don't really like having the variables underneath the methods, so eventually I will cut them and paste them up there. But I'm going to go ahead and do the amount as well. So I'm going to select the amount, refactor, encapsulate, and I'm letting it add get amount and set amount. And should I have let it do them all at the same time? Yeah, I should have. Okay, now like I said, I like seeing my variables up at the top. And I'm going to remove all the comments. These are what are known as Java.doc comments. Java.doc is something that will go and produce an HTML page based on your code, showing the function calls and things like that. They're not a bad thing to have in there. It's just that when I'm showing code in class, the more comments there are, the less of the code you can see. So there is a tools Java.doc, something like that. I'll find it. I'll show it to you later. That'll let you actually run the Java.doc application on it and see the web pages that it makes, the HTML documentation. But for now, I'm just going to remove all the extra comments. All right, we have a class called volume and amount. If I wanted to add a fill method, I could do that. Say I want two methods, a fill and a pour. So I don't really have a reason for thinking that fill needs to return anything. So I'm going to declare it as void, but it does need to take an amount. And when we fill the bottle, we're going to check to see if the amount has already exceeded. I'm not liking the use of the word amount here. And where's the amount here? Quantity. Okay, so anyways, so what are we going to do here? We want to add quantity to amount already in, but not allow the volume of the bottle to be exceeded. So something like this. This dot amount plus equals quantity, but if this dot amount is greater than the max volume, see, we should have called it max volume. That would have made sense. Then this dot amount equals volume. Now, do I need to be using this everywhere? No. I'm real fond of using it because I can type this dot and it'll list all the methods that are available to me plus all the variables that I've defined. Saves me some typing. Now say that I've decided that I really wish it hadn't been called volume. I wish it had been called max volume. We can change that all in one fell swoop. I don't like that quantity one, so I'm going to change it. So I'm going to right click, well, I'm going to select quantity, and then I'm going to come up to refactor, rename, very top choice. And I'm going to decide that I should have used a whole word. So quantity spelled out. Quantity. And I click refactor. And now every occurrence of that variable has been renamed. Now if we had a different variable called qty somewhere else, another private variable, another local variable, another parameter, and another method, it wouldn't have renamed that. It's very specific. It only changes the ones that it should when you do that. Now volume. I'm going to do the same for volume. So I'm going to highlight volume, come down here, do rename, and where it says volume, I'm going to do max volume. And notice it says rename getters and setters. I want to do that because I want my getters and my setters to match my variable name. Rename the comments as well? Sure, why not? So I changed it to max volume. I'm going to make the change but in comments and in setters, and then I'm good to go. And you see now that max volume is used everywhere.
Is this going to be a constant? Is it just going to be just the max? Like, are we going to set the max volume?
We will have to set the max volume unless we make a constructor that does it for us. And I think we ought to do that. So right now, if we're going to use our model, are we all good if we built this and ran it, would y'all not get any syntax errors? Right now, it's still asking for my name and age. But at least I'm not seeing any syntax errors. So the bottle class at this point does not have any syntax errors, I hope. I will scroll up and down it for those of y'all looking at it at home, so you can take a look. Alrighty. Rules for writing classes. Number 4. Add a constructor if it helps the class. What's a constructor? A constructor is a method that has the same name as the class and is invoked, called, when a new object is being created. So when we did this, or we haven't done it yet, but if we go back over to our hello program, let's add some stuff before, not after this name and age stuff. As a matter of fact, why don't we just comment that name and age stuff out? So I'm back over in Hello Beans. I'm going to comment out the what is your name, what is your age stuff. And so I'm going to do source toggle comment. And yeah, really I usually just do it by hand, huh? You know, I put double slashes in front of everything. But trying to get you used to the idea that you have all sorts of shortcuts available to you in this thing. Okay, so I've commented all that out. Why? Because I care more about the bottle now. Let's make a new bottle. Bottle B1 is equal to new bottle. Then we have to set the volume. Right now, the max volume, I'm spiffing back over here, is set to 0. Instance members, instance variables, are all they all default to 0 or null unless you provide a different value for them. Yeah, I could have made the the default volume 1, but I didn't, so it's set to 0 right now. So let's set the max for this bottle. B1.setMaxVolume, and I want it to contain 10. 10 ounces, 10 gallons, 10 liters, I don't know, but that's what it's got. Now let's add a little bit of water to it. B1 dot, now I kind of wish I'd use the word add rather than fill. Fill, and I'm going to add 4, whatever, liters, who knows. You know what we don't have right now is a method that shows the remaining capacity. What would be neat is if I could do this. Double remaining is equal to B1 dot get. I'm trying to think of short terms for this because here's what I'm wanting to come up with. Remaining capacity. Isn't that a bit long for a method name? Can y'all think of a better, how much space is left in it? What would be a good?
Empty space?
Yeah, get empty space. I like that. Get empty space. That's what I want it to do. We don't have this method. I'm going to let NetBeans create it. And I don't care if you use all these tricks, you know, letting NetBeans do the encapsulation and let NetBeans create methods and stuff like that. I don't care if you use them, but I want you to see them, at least this once. So this is complaining over here, cannot find symbol because there is no get empty space method. I can tell it to add one. If I click on this, and I'm going to give you all a very strong warning about not using this in most circumstances. Whenever you click on an error and it says create, only choose create if you're absolutely sure that's what you want to do. Why do I say that? Because sometimes you'll make mistakes, like, don't type this, but what if I called this a bottle rather than a bottle? I made a typo. And so I go over here and I go, oh, okay, well, I'm going to fix it, huh? Create class? No, that's not what I want to do. It was a typo. I don't want to create a class. So only choose create if you are absolutely sure that's what you want to do. And in this case it is. I want to add this method, get empty space, to our bottle class. So I am going to create it. I'm going to click on that and do create method. So if I come back over here to bottle, I will see that there is now a new method called get empty space. However, it doesn't do anything. It generates an error because we haven't actually encoded it. It created the method, but it's just, you know, a stub there waiting. Let's use it. I'm going to run it and we'll see that it throws an error message. There it is, you know, exception. Blah, 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 blah. Not supported yet. Why is it not supported yet? Because we have to add our own code here. So let's calculate the empty space and return it. Double empty is equal to this dot max volume minus this dot amount. And let's return that. Alrighty, I'm going to go back to Hello NetBeans. We have how much is remaining in it. Let's also figure out how much is currently in it. Amount is equal to B1 dot get amount, like that. And I went and I added that little comment about always using add a constructor if it makes a class easier to use. We need to go back and do that, but I got sidetracked by doing this, so I want to keep going with it. Okay, so we know how much is remaining. We know how much is in it. We may as well print that stuff out. System.out.println, except I'm going to use printf instead. Printf bottle holds %f, because it's a floating point number, units, and can hold you know what, I'm going to change that a little bit. You have more room on your screen than I do. Bottle holds %f units /n, and I want to print out the amount. System.out.printf with room for %f more. felt compelled to add that. I don't need to add that closing brace. That's already all taken care of, isn't it? Yep. Okay. All right, I'm going to run mine, make sure it works. Bottle holds 4 units with room for 6 more. That's not really what I wanted, was it? Yeah, I guess it is holding 4 units. The capacity of it's 10. We didn't get the capacity. We just set the max volume right there. Okay, so as I mentioned, with a constructor, you can use a constructor to make a class somewhat easier to use. What if you wanted to be able to do this? What if you wanted to be able to say bottle B1 is equal to new bottle and specify the maximum quantity right as you create it? We'd like to do that. But that's broken. And yeah, I could use NetBeans to go in and add that constructor on. So go ahead and make that change and delete that line, that set max volume line. But we have to go back to the bottle class and fix it. And we could click on the error and let it create the constructor, but we're gonna do it by hand. Okay, so we need a constructor. A constructor is a method that has the same name as a class and it is invoked when a new object is created. It can accept parameters. That's what we're gonna do. So way up here at the top, I like to put my constructors up at the top. It's gonna be public. Constructors don't have return types. No return types, so I'm not declaring it as void or int or anything like that, but we do want it to have a variable. Double max volume, because that's what, can I spell? Max volume. And what does our constructor does? All it does is set the value of the max volume equal to the parameter that was passed in. That way we don't have to call set max volume. As a matter of fact, we could even comment set max volume out because we could dictate that the only way you could ever change the volume of the bottle is to create a new one. I'm not going to mess with that though. Okay, the program should work now. I'm not liking this wording here, so just because it's making me twitch, I want to come back here and let's go ahead and get the capacity as well as the rest. Double capacity equals B1 dot get max volume. And let's add a printf for that as well, and then we'll be done with it. System.out.printf bottle can hold %f units \n, and after the comma, the capacity. And I want to change the wording of this one from bottle holds to bottle is, or maybe contains. Contains %f units. Alrighty, so the bottle can hold 10 units. It currently contains 4 units with room for 6 more. What if we didn't need that many decimals? Well, we'd fix that with the %f. You know, %.2f or something like that, so it'll only print 2 zeros out. We may as well do that to make it a little bit prettier. Each one of these %f's, I'm going to make it %.2f. %.2f, %.2f. Okie doke. I think we're done with this program. Well, I didn't run it and show that that %.2 worked. Never make a change and not test it. Okay, there we go. Cool beans, we are done. So now I want you to turn this in. How are you going to turn it in? You could just upload the entire zip file. Excuse me, you could upload all the .java files individually, of which we have 2, or we can zip it and send it all in one shebang. Stop that. I have a Bluetooth tracker on my keys. If I sit down wrong, it makes my iPad go nuts. Okay, so, and that was all recorded. Great. Okay, anyways, so let's export this as a zip file and then submit that to the Dropbox. So here's what you do. Find your application, select the one that you're currently working on, and go up to File, Export Project to Zip. And if you notice, it says that the zip file that is going to be created is in some absurd directory. App data, local, temp, hello NetBeans. I really wish they'd change that default. So let's choose Browse and put it somewhere where we actually like it. So I'm going to put mine in my 2613. And I'm going to call this tutorial 0.zip. It would add it automatically, but for the Mac users it doesn't add it automatically. So if any of you guys are working on a Mac, don't forget to add the .zip. By the way, if you try to upload a file on a Mac that you haven't given an extension, D2L just flat out will not let you upload it, and it won't tell you why. So always make sure your files have extensions. Alright, so now that we've chosen a path for it, we click Export. And it shows it. They've installed this zip file handler that I don't really like on these school machines. So, yeah, but anyways, we can go out and look and make sure that it's there. I'm in the wrong directory. I thought I had 20. Thought I had that into my favorites as well. Alright, there's my zip. Tutorial 0.zip.
For some reason, it just did a file on mine.
So you don't have to do that. You don't have to do the export as zip archive. You can just give me the .java files, or you can zip it up via your normal Windows or Mac, you know, however you normally like to do it. So if you go to the Dropbox, you'll see it there. You can open up the Dropbox. I ought to give it a better name than just 0. Do a submission to it. Since I exported it as a zip, I could add that zip wherever it went. I put mine in my 2613 directory, tutorial 0.zip. I could do that. Say I get annoyed with that entire zipping business, I can just go and find the project itself and go and find the 2 source files, bottle.java and hello NetBeans. Whichever ones you want to give me. And then click Add. If you're not seeing file name extensions on your computer, you would probably want to enable file name extensions. So here's how you do that. Bring up an Explorer window. You know, click on the folder or however you do it on your operating system. Choose Organize, Folder, and Search options. And if you're on Windows 10 and stuff like that, it's probably in a different place. Anyways, once you do that, you click View, and then there's a place that says Hide Extensions for known file types. Deselect that because you like seeing extensions. You like seeing whether it's a .zip file or a .java file or whatever. So make sure that Hide Extensions for known file types is deselected. And where did I find that? Well, on Windows 7, I found it under Organize, Folder, and Search options, and then click on the View tab. And you can find the same thing in any version of Windows. It'll just be tucked under a separate, separate menu. All right, so I'm going to click Done, and we are done with that lecture, but we need some homework. So here's what our homework is going to be. Very similar to Java, beginning Java assignments. Create a class named Rectangle that has 2 members variables, I'm going to change it to instance variables named height and width. They should be encapsulated, made private with getters and setters. Add a get area method and a get perimeter method. Ask me for the formulas if you can't figure them out. Add a constructor that will set the height and width. Then use this class in your client code in main to print out the area and perimeter of a rectangle. That is 20 by 30. Make sense, guys? Okay. All right, going to the drop boxes, you'll notice that I renamed that tutorial 0 to tutorial A. Sorry about that. I forgot that I like to name my tutorials with letters and my homework with numbers in order to differentiate them. So you'll see that there are two homework assignments. One of them is the rectangle class, the instructions of which I'm just about to upload. And then the other is just to install NetBeans and to show me that you've got it working, upload a Hello World type program to me. All it has to do is print out and say Hello World, but I would like for you to create it with NetBeans. Nothing fancy, nothing special, just install NetBeans, get it working, create a little project called Hello World and send it to me. There was extra stuff in it. I'll clean the homework up later.